So if you're in the process of planting your garden right now and you know that you had all kinds of problems with pests in your garden the previous season and you want to try to plan to circumvent those pests this year, think about companion planting. Companion planting isn't necessarily what you might think it is. We hear about companion planting as, oh, well, this plant goes really well with this plant and it does this. And yes, that is very true. But just the sheer act of planting more than one species of plant together in the same area is going to help prevent pests. When we have insect pests, they find those plants by homing in on the chemical signature of that particular plant. So if I have a tomato plant and I have these pests that are going after specifically tomato plants, if I plant a bunch of other non-host plants around that tomato plant, it's going to mask that chemical signal, and it's going to make it harder for those insect pests to be able to find their target. So if you have multiple plants mixed in together, as long as they're not competing with each other, they don't necessarily have to be, well, you have to have basil and marigolds with your tomatoes. Those aren't the only ones that are going to help benefit your tomato plant. Same thing goes for most of your other crops. So consider things like mixing low growing plants in with taller growing ones so they don't compete with each other. And also think about planting things that are going to help attract those beneficial predatory insects. Things like sweet alyssum will attract these beneficial insects at the same time that they're also masking those chemical scents. So when you have the actual pests coming in, they're not only are they confused, but you've also attracted the ones that may actually go after them to help alleviate those pest problems. So you don't need to resort to spraying things in your garden, even if you have had major infestations before. Look to plants that are going to attract beneficials. Look to plants that maybe are attractive to the pests that you're having the most problem with, and use them to draw those away from the actual cash crop, the thing that you want to keep. Nasturtium is really good for this, for things like aphids, and use those as companions within your garden. Just remember, a monoculture, one single plant growing all by itself, is a much, much easier target than a polyculture where there are multiple plants being grown together.